Hello student, today we are again discuss on income from house property, specifically problems on let out house property. I am Dr. Ravindra Jadhav from Somaiya College, Kopargaon. So this is the problem number 2. Mayur owns 2 houses. He has furnished the following particulars for the financial year 2021-22. The information regarding house number first house, its municipal valuation is rupees 1 lakh. He uses it for his residence. He has paid fire insurance premium rupees 2,000 and municipal taxes rupees 10,000. He has also paid interest on housing loan rupees 16,000. So after micro reading, we concluded that only municipal valuation is given in this problem. Fair rent and standard rents are not given. But the most important point is that annual rent is not given in this problem. If annual rent is not given, that means such a particular house is used for his own residence. So considered this house is self-occupied house property. बरोबर ना? इथे तुम्हाला फक्त म्युनिसिपल व्हॅल्युएशन दिलं आणि इथं म्हटलंय पण त्याने ही युजेस इट फॉर हिज रेसिडेन्स. ते खरं त्याच्या स्वतःसाठी वापरतोय तो. इवन this note is, if this note is not given in the problem, then also we are able to concluded that this house is self-occupied house property because annual rent is not given in the problem. That means it is not an let out house property. Has okay, so clear it. And in case of second house, its municipal valuation is rupees 60,000 and has been let out at a rent of rupees 6,000 per month. So it has been let out and a rent received per month of rupees 6,000 per month multiplied by 12 months. This is the annual rent 72,000. But again in this case also, municipal valuation and fair rent and standard rent are not given. So for the purpose of expected rent, they are only considered municipal valuation. So there is no necessary to compare between municipal valuation, fair rent and standard rent in this case. इथे तुम्हाला फक्त म्युनिसिपल व्हॅल्युएशन दिलंय, फेअर रेंट आणि स्टँडर्ड रेंट दिलेलं नाहीये आणि म्हणून ते कम्पेअर करण्याची गरज नाही. म्युनिसिपल व्हॅल्युएशन हेच काय असेल या केसमध्ये, एक्सपेक्टेड रेंट असेल आणि लेट आउट हाऊस प्रॉपर्टी आहे ती आणि ती 6,000 पर मंथने लेट आउट केली, म्हणजे 72,000 रुपये त्या ठिकाणी रेंट मिळतंय त्या हाऊस प्रॉपर्टी पासून, ते त्याचं अॅन्युअल रेंट झालं. He has made the following payment in respect of this house. He paid municipal taxes of rupees 6,000 and we deduct it from gross annual value. Refers rupees 10,000. This is also an expenditure on house property, but it is not. That means not allowed to give for the purpose of deduction. Similarly, legal expenses are also not allowed for getting the houses vacated rupees 5,000, annual charges rupees 30,000, rent collector salary rupees 3,600. That means all these expenses are associated with house property, but other than municipal taxes, other expenses are not allowed for deduction from gross annual value. So here we are only considered municipal taxes and it will deduct or less from gross annual value. So repairs, the expenditure on repairs, legal expenses, then annual charges. These expenses are only given for the purpose of report, but as per the Income Tax Act, such expenses are not allowed for deduct from or less from gross annual value. There is only one expenditure is allowed, and that is municipal taxes. Then rent collected salary, this is also an expenditure, and charges is also an expenditure. The houses remain vacant for 2 months. 2 months means 6,000 per month multiplied by 2 months, 12,000 is the loss due to vacancy, and we will less it in the step number 4. Rupees 20,000 could not be covered from the defaulting tenant during this year. ते घर 2 महिने व्हॅकंट होतं आणि 2 महिने एका महिन्याचं भाडं 6,000 आणि 2 महिन्याचं 12,000 असं 2 महिने रिकामे राहिल्यामुळे तो लॉस ड्यू टू वॅकन्सी झाला, आणि तो आपण स्टेप नंबर 4 मध्ये लेस करणार आहोत फ्रेंड्स. आणि सिमिलरली अनरिलाइज्ड रेंट, रुपीज 20,000 could not be recovered from the defaulting tenant during this year. चालू वर्षी टेनंटने 20,000 रुपये भाडं बुडवलं, डिफॉल्ट टेनंट, बरोबर ना. टेनंट म्हणजे भाडे करू, आणि त्याने ते 20,000 भाडं दिलं नाही, त्याला आपण अनरिलाइज रेंट असं म्हणतो. आणि ते आपण स्टेप नंबर 2 मध्ये रेंट रिसिव्ड और रिसेबल मधून काय करत असतो, लेस करत असतो. ओके. Compute his taxable income from the house property for the assessment year 2022-23. Okay, so this is an problem. One house property is associated with the self-occupied house property, and a second house is associated with the let-out house property. So we already discussed on it. If the house property is self-occupied, that means its gross annual value is 0. Its net annual value is also nil or 0. Okay, so see, this is the ready format. Computation of income from house property of Mayur for assessment year 2022-23. One is let out house property and another is house first, self occupied. Now second, let out house property. Let out house property. Okay, so okay, in case of self-occupied house property, expected rent is always not applicable. Okay, in this case, municipal valuation is given. In case of house first, municipal valuation is given, but for the purpose of self-occupied house property, it will always nil. So तिथे म्युनिसिपल व्हॅल्युएशन दिलेला असो अगर न दिलेला असो, परंतु आपण ते काय करतो, ऑलवेज काय घेतो, नील घेत असतो. मग इथे फेअर रेंट दिलेलंच नाहीये, पण इथे ऍप्लिकेबल पण होत नाही, स्टँडर्ड रेंट पण दिलेलं नाही, ते ऍप्लिकेबल होत नाही, म्हणजेच इथे काय येतं, नील येतं. एक्सपेक्टेड रेंट काय आलं, नील आलं. सिमिलरली ते सेल्फ ऑक्युपाइड हाऊस प्रॉपर्टी असल्यामुळे त्याला तिथे रेंट रिसिव्ड और रिसिवेबल ते पण काय असणार, नॉट ऍप्लिकेबल असणार, नॉट ऍप्लिकेबल असणार, आणि म्हणून त्याचं रेंट रिसिव्ड और रिसिवेबल पण काय असणार, नील असणार. त्याच्यानंतर इथे नॉट ऍप्लिकेबल असणार, लॉस ड्यू टू व्हॅकन्सी नॉट ऍप्लिकेबल आहे आणि दिलेला पण नाहीये, म्हणजेच या हाऊस प्रॉपर्टीचं ग्रॉस एन्युअल व्हॅल्यू काय आलं, नील आलं. आता ह्या हाऊस प्रॉपर्टीचं म्युनिसिपल टॅक्सेस पण दिलेत बघा. ओके, म्युनिसिपल टॅक्सेस आर ऑल्सो गिवन in case of self-occupied house property, but it is not allowed for deduct from net annual value because net annual value is always nil. So it is not considered in case of self-occupied house property, so not applicable. So your net annual value net annual value of house property is nil. Okay, nil. Then deduction under section 24. Again, in case of self-occupied house property, standard deduction is not allowed, not allowed, not allowed, because our net annual value is 0. When we are able to calculate standard deduction, because the formula of standard deduction is 30% of NAV. So we need to calculate 30% of nil value. Okay, so it should not considered or considered as not applicable. Okay, so it is not applicable. And then interest on borrowed capital. The ceiling limit of borrowed capital in case of self-occupied house property is of rupees 2 lakhs, up to rupees 2 lakhs. 2 लाखापर्यंत सेल्फ ऑक्युपाइड हाऊस प्रॉपर्टीला जे काही व्याज आहे गृह कर्जावरचं, होम लोन वरचं, तर ते त्या ठिकाणी वाजवट मिळते. पण इथे मात्र ते 16,000 दिले, तर आपण ते 16,000 घेणार आहोत. पण इथे 16,000. मग आता इथं नील व्हॅल्यू मधनं आपण डिडक्शन वजा केले तर इथं -16,000 येतं. काय येतं? -16,000 येतं. -16,000 येणं म्हणजे याला काय म्हणतो आपण? लॉस म्हणतो. काय म्हणतो? लॉस फ्रॉम हाऊस प्रॉपर्टी. लॉस फ्रॉम हाऊस प्रॉपर्टी. Loss from house property. So this is the calculation for house number first. समजलं का? म्हणजे इथे फक्त आपण इंटरेस्ट ऑन बॉरो कॅपिटल हे दिलं आणि बाकीच्या स्टेप्स काय आल्या? नॉट ऍप्लिकेबल आल्या आणि मग त्यामुळे व्हॅल्युएशन नील येत गेलं. आता इन केस ऑफ हाऊस सेकंड अँड इट शुड लेट आउट हाऊस प्रॉपर्टी and this information is provided in case of second house. Municipal valuation is given, but fair rent and standard rent are not given. So only municipal valuation is taken for the purpose of calculation. 60,000. Here it is not given, that's why it's nil. Nil, not given, not given. Okay, not given. So, or not applicable, not applicable. Sometimes we think that nil means 0. Then you should compare the municipal valuation with standard rent and just compare the nil value is less than municipal valuation and municipal valuation cross the limit of standard rent. That's why I write here not applicable. Okay, so 60,000 is the standard, expected rent. Expected rent. If the value of fair rent and standard rent are given in the problem, then you should put here and just compare how it should compare municipal valuation or fair rent, whichever is higher. Whichever is higher. I again repeat it. Whichever is higher. For example, if municipal valuation is 60,000, fair rent is 70,000, whichever is higher, 70,000 is higher. Then okay, so here fair rent and standard rent is not given, and that's why we consider municipal valuation as expected rent. Okay, if fair rent and standard rent is given, for example, municipal valuation of rupees 60,000 and fair rent of rupees 70,000, then we compare the 60,000 and 70,000, whichever is higher. So 70,000 is higher, and we compare the that highest amount, that is rupees 70,000 with standard rent. And in this case, if standard rent of rupees 50,000, that means rupees 70,000 is cross the limit of standard rent, that is the 50,000, and then we should consider 50,000 is the expected rent. But in this problem, municipal valuation and fair rent are not given. That's why we just put the not applicable, and that's why expected rent is of rupees 60,000. Then Then rent received or receivable. Okay, rent received or receivable. So in the problem, and has been let out at a rent of rupees 6,000 per month. So rate of per month rent is rupees 6,000 per month. Rupees 6,000 multiplied by 12 months. 12 months. So 70,000, 72,000 is the annual rent. Is the annual rent. Okay, is the annual rent. Then unrealized rent. If some rent is not paid by the tenant, that means tenant was default the amount of rent. So that portion is called the unrealized rent, and it should deduct in step number 2. And in this case, see here, rupees 2,000, 20,000 could not be recovered from the defaulting tenant during this year. That means during this year, tenant failed to pay of rupees 20,000 and he default his rent. That means it is the unrealized rent of rupees 20,000, and we deduct it from annual rent 20,000. Okay, so our rent receivable or received annual rent minus unrealized rent. Unrealized rent is given in the problem of rupees 20,000. So 72,000 minus 20,000, 52,000 is the rent received or receivable. Rent received or receivable. बघा ह्या प्रॉब्लेम मध्ये 6,000 रुपये पर मंथ रेंट मिळते असं दिलंय आणि 12 महिन्यांचं 72,000 झालं आणि त्या टेनंटने डिफॉल्ट केलं रेंट 20,000चं, ते आपण मायनस केलंय आतनं. 72,000 वजा 20,000 तिथे 52,000 आपल्या रेंट रिसिव्ड और रिसिवेबल आलं. आणि मग आपण स्टेप नंबर 3 मध्ये स्टेप नंबर 1 आणि स्टेप नंबर 2 काय करतो, कम्पेअर करतो. ओके, आफ्टर द कॅल्क्युलेटिंग रेंट रिसिव्ड और रिसिवेबल, we are going for step number 3, and it will be calculated by step number 1 or step number 2. That means expected rent or rent received or receivable, whichever is higher. So we compare the expected rent of rupees 60,000 and rent received or receivable rupees 50,000, 52,000, whichever is higher. So 60,000 is the highest amount. So 60,000 is the higher amount. That's why we consider it in step number 3. And in step number 4, we just deduct the loss due to vacancy from step number 3. And in this problem, loss due to vacancy is also given. See here, the house remained vacant for 2 months. So per month rent of rupees 6,000. So 2 month vacant period rent is 6,000 plus 6,000, that is 12,000. 2 महिन्याचं 2 महिन्यात त्या ठिकाणी वॅकंट राहिलं घर आणि 2 महिन्याचं त्या ठिकाणी 6,000 रुपये 12,000 रुपये लॉस ड्यू टू वॅकन्सी झाला. लॉस ड्यू टू वॅकन्सी 12,000. Loss due to vacancy. Then we calculate the gross annual value by deducting the loss due to vacancy from step number 3. 60,000 minus 12,000, that is 48,000 is our gross annual value. Now we proceed for next step, that is municipal taxes should be deducted from gross annual value. And in this problem, gross municipal taxes in case of second house is given. Municipal taxes 6,000, and we already discussed that other expenditure are not allowed for deduct as an expenditure from the gross annual value. So municipal taxes of rupees 6,000 in this case, 6,000. 6,000 is given. Sorry, extremely sorry. 6,000. 6,000 is given. Okay, so 48,000 minus 6,000. 48,000 minus 6,000, that is 36,000. 36,000 is the net annual value. 36,000 is the net annual value. Sorry, 48,000 minus 6,000, 42,000. Extremely sorry, 42,000 is the net annual value. Then the next step is deduct the deduction under section 24 from net annual value, and the first deduction is standard deduction. 30% of NAV. So 30% of net annual value, and then the value of net annual value is of rupees 42,000. So 42,000 multiple by 30%. 42,000 multiple by 30%. The standard deduction of rupees 12,600. Okay, 12,600. How we calculated it? We calculated it by calculating 30% of 42,000. 42,000 multiplied by 30%. So standard deduction of rupees 12,600. And in this problem, interest on borrowed capital is not given. See here, there is no any information regarding the housing loan for a fresh construction or fresh loan or a reconstruction or renovation of the house property. So just less the 12,600 from 42,000. 42,000 minus 12,600. So 29,400 is the income from house property. Income from house property. In case of first house, there is loss due to interest on borrowed capital, because there is no any income received from that house property, because that particular house property is used for self residence. Okay, so there is no any rent received from that particular house property. Even in this case, he paid some interest on housing loan, and that's why, as per the Income Tax Act under Section 24, some deductions are allowed, and as per this deduction, interest on borrowed capital up to rupees 2 lakhs is a deduct in case of self-occupied house property, but in this case only 16,000 interest is paid during the previous year, and that's why it is applicable for deduction. Property. Okay, income from house property. So then the next step is that calculate the net result. Calculate the net result in case of income of Mr. Mayur. Okay, so the net income or loss. Income from house property. House first, there is loss rupees 16,000. Loss rupees 16,000. Loss. And then house second. House second, 29,400 is the income. And there is one provision in Income Tax Act. If there is any loss in any heads of income, it should be transfer to another heads for that means reimbursement of that particular loss. रिएम्बर्समेंट पण नाही म्हणू शकत आपण त्याला, तो जो लॉस आहे तर तो दुसऱ्या हेड मधून आपण तो भरून काढतो. आणि फॉर दिस पर्पज देर आर टू टर्मिनॉलॉजी इन द इन्कम टॅक्स ऍक्ट, इन्कम टॅक्स रूल, दॅट इज सेट ऑफ लॉसेस, set of losses and carry forward of losses. Set of losses and carry forward of losses. Set of means एका हेडचा लॉस ह्या दुसऱ्या हेडच्या इन्कम मधून वजा करायचा. मग आता इथे इन केस ऑफ हाऊस फर्स्ट देर इज लॉस अँड इन केस ऑफ हाऊस सेकंड देर इज प्रॉफिट. आणि म्हणून हा जो हाऊस फर्स्टचा लॉस आहे तर तो आपल्याला इन्कम टॅक्सच्या पर्पज साठी हाऊस सेकंड मधून वजा करायला मुभा मिळते. त्याने इन्कम कमी होतो आणि त्याने टॅक्स वाचतो. ओके, त्याने टॅक्स वाचतो. आणि मग याला काय म्हटलं जातं, याला म्हटलं जातं सेट ऑफ लॉसेस. सेट ऑफ म्हणजे त्या ठिकाणी भरपाई करायची. मग इन्कम फ्रॉम हाऊस प्रॉपर्टीमध्ये लॉस आला असेल तर तो इन्कम फ्रॉम सॅलरी मधून वजा करता येतो, इन्कम फ्रॉम बिझनेस मधून लेस करता येतो. लक्षात आलं? याला काय म्हणतात तिथे, सेट ऑफ लॉसेस. पण हे पहिल्या 4 हेडच्या बाबतीमध्ये लागू होतं. इन्कम फ्रॉम सॅलरी मध्ये, इन्कम फ्रॉम हाऊस प्रॉपर्टी मध्ये, त्याच्यानंतर इन्कम फ्रॉम बिझनेस अँड प्रोफेशन म्हणजे तिथे प्रॉफिट गेन, प्रॉफिट अँड गेन फ्रॉम बिझनेस अँड प्रोफेशन. आणि इन्कम फ्रॉम अदर सोर्सेसच्या बाबतीमध्ये ते लागू होतं. पण कॅपिटल गेनच्या बाबतीमध्ये मात्र तिथे लॉंग टर्म कॅपिटल गेन असेल तर त्याला सेट ऑफ घेता येत नाही. म्हणजे तो दुसऱ्या हेडच्या इन्कम मधून त्याचा जो लॉस आहे लॉंग टर्म कॅपिटल गेनचा, तर तो वजा करता येत नाही, मुभा देत नाही इन्कम टॅक्स ऍक्ट. पण त्याच्या बाबतीमध्ये प्रोव्हिजन केली आहे कॅरी फॉरवर्ड ऑफ लॉसेस. तिथे कॅपिटल गेनच्या ऐवजी कॅपिटल लॉस झाला असेल तर तो पुढच्या वर्षी कॅरी फॉरवर्ड करता येतो. पुढच्या वर्षीच्या कॅपिटल लॉंग टर्म कॅपिटल गेन मधून तो ह्या वर्षीचा कॅपिटल लॉस हा भरून काढण्याची मुभा मिळते. त्याला त्या ठिकाणी काय म्हणतात, कॅरी फॉरवर्ड ऑफ लॉसेस. So these are the two important concept terminology in the Income Tax Act. So what is net result? Net income from house property. 29,600 minus 12,000, sorry, minus 16,000. So 13,400 is the income from house property. Is the income from house property. Okay, so this is the net result. This is the net result. I hope you clear all the points. Okay, see you in next video. Practice it. Thank you so much.